Bob Marley might well see himself as a revolutionary. But is reggae really a political force or just fun, part of the rock business?
Have you ever wondered how Bob Marley became the king of reggae? What if I told you the story you know is just the surface? Burning Spear has stepped forward to reveal the hidden struggles and darker truths behind Marley's rise. You are about to see a side of him few people talk about. Early life and struggles. Bob Marley was born in 9 Mile, Jamaica, on February 6, 1945. Life in this small rural town was anything but easy for a boy with big dreams. His father was a white Jamaican who was often absent, and his mother was a young black woman trying to make ends meet in a community where opportunities were limited. From the very start, Marley learned that life could be harsh and unpredictable. Growing up in poverty shaped the man he would become. He experienced hunger and social inequality firsthand, and these experiences would later influence both his music and his worldview. Even as a child, he noticed the divisions around him and developed a sensitivity to injustice that would become a hallmark of his songs. At the same time, he faced the kind of small-town challenges most kids would rather forget. Bullying was common, and young Marley had to learn resilience early on. Music entered Marley's life almost by accident, but it quickly became a refuge. He was fascinated by rhythm and melody, and spent hours listening to local musicians and radio stations. Trying to mimic their sound, he discovered that music could be both a creative outlet and a way to connect with people beyond 9 Mile. This passion became a lifeline offering hope amid economic and social hardships. The streets of Kingston later played a pivotal role in shaping Marley's character and perspective. His teenage years were marked by migration to the city in search of work and opportunity. This move exposed him to a mix of cultures, sounds, and experiences that would later become central to his music. The stark contrast between rural and urban life taught Marley how to navigate different social environments and interact with people from diverse backgrounds. These lessons were invaluable as he started to think about making music for a larger audience. Despite his growing interest in music, Marley faced resistance from his environment. School was not always supportive of his talents, and peers often dismissed his ambitions. Music at the time was not considered a serious path to success, especially for someone from a disadvantaged background. He had to work odd jobs and help support his family. All these responsibilities made the pursuit of music seem like a luxury he could not always afford. Yet even with these pressures, he never gave up his dream. Burning Spear later emphasized that understanding Marley's early life is key to understanding the man behind the legend. According to him, Marley's path to fame was anything but smooth. It was a combination of raw talent, relentless ambition, and an unflinching awareness of life's challenges that propelled him forward. The struggles of 9 Mile and the streets of Kingston were not obstacles Marley complained about. They were the forge that shaped his character and his music. From poverty to family challenges to the harsh realities of Jamaican society, Bob Marley's early life was full of lessons that would follow him forever. His music would eventually reflect both the pain and hope of these formative years. For anyone looking to understand his rise, you cannot skip this chapter of his life. It is here that the roots of his resilience and passion were planted, and where the story of the Reggae King truly begins. First steps into music. Bob Marley's first steps into music were far from glamorous or easy. While today we picture a reggae icon commanding stages and stadiums in the 1960s, he was just a young man with a guitar, a dream, and a lot of determination. In Kingston, he met Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer, two fellow musicians who shared his passion for music and vision for creating something new. Together, they formed the Wailers, a group that would eventually change the course of reggae history. The early days of the Wailers were a mix of excitement and struggle. They recorded in small studios, sometimes paying for their own sessions, and relied on local producers who were often more interested in quick profits than nurturing talent. Marley and his friends quickly learned that talent alone would not carry them to success. The music industry in Jamaica was competitive, unpredictable, and often unfair, which meant they had to fight for every opportunity. The Wailers' first recordings were a combination of ska, rocksteady, and early reggae. The music reflected both the energy of Kingston and the personal experiences of the band members. Marley's lyrics often touched on social issues, love, and personal struggles, giving their songs a depth that set them apart from other local acts. Despite this, The group struggled to find consistent support from record labels. They faced repeated rejections, and at times it seemed that their music would never reach a wider audience. Marley's dedication to his craft was apparent even in these early struggles. He practiced tirelessly, writing songs that reflected the reality of his life and the lives of those around him. Each performance, whether on a street corner or a small club stage, was an opportunity to connect with people and refine his style. He began developing a distinctive voice that combined authenticity, emotion, and a subtle political edge that would later become his signature. While the Wailers were gaining some local recognition, internal tensions and external pressures tested the group. Marley had to navigate disagreements with bandmates, conflicts over songwriting credits, and the constant threat of being exploited by producers and managers. These challenges forced him to develop resilience and leadership skills early on. He learned to balance friendship with business, a lesson that would prove invaluable as fame approached. Burning Spear has noted that Marley's early career is often romanticized, but the reality was far messier. The young musician faced poverty, rejection, and the constant pressure to prove himself. Every small victory came at a cost, and every setback was a reminder that talent alone was not enough. To understand Marley's rise, you must recognize the grit and determination that fueled these formative years. By the end of this phase, Marley was no longer just a young boy from 9 Mile. He had become a musician who knew the value of hard work, collaboration, and perseverance. The experiences of these early years shaped both his sound and his approach to life and music. They planted the seeds of the iconic artist the world would soon know, and they showed that even a future legend had to start from scratch, facing challenges most people would rather ignore. Bob Marley's first steps into music were humble but decisive. They set the tone for a career marked by creativity, struggle, and an unshakable commitment to authenticity. Without this period of trial and error, the story of reggae's greatest star would look very different. Indeed, these beginnings laid the foundation for everything that came after. Clashes with the music industry. As Bob Marley's music started gaining attention, the shiny image of fame began to collide with a much messier reality. The music industry in Jamaica and beyond was not a friendly place for talented young musicians. In fact, it was full of people ready to take advantage of anyone who did not know how to navigate contracts, producers, and managers. Marley quickly learned that passion alone could not protect him from exploitation. One major challenge was dealing with record labels. Many of the early contracts offered to Marley and the Wailers were confusing, unfair, and heavily skewed in favor of producers. These agreements often promised more than they delivered, leaving artists with little control over their own work. Marley had to fight for his rights repeatedly, and each negotiation taught him valuable lessons about the business side of music. Producers, while sometimes supportive of creative ideas, could also be difficult partners. Some pushed the band to record certain songs for commercial reasons rather than artistic ones. Others tried to take credit for songwriting or production choices. Marley, who cared deeply about the integrity of his music, was often frustrated by these conflicts. Burning Spear later emphasized that Marley's challenges in this era were as much about protecting his art as they were about gaining fame. Internal tensions also arose as Marley navigated these obstacles. The Wailers were a close-knit group, but disagreements over contracts, royalties, and creative direction occasionally strained relationships. Marley had to balance friendship with professionalism, ensuring that his own voice was heard without alienating those he cared about. These early battles helped him develop leadership skills that would serve him throughout his career. International exposure brought its own set of problems. As Marley's music started attracting attention outside Jamaica, he encountered new challenges in understanding foreign markets, dealing with international labels, and protecting his rights abroad. The allure of quick fame sometimes tempted managers or labels to prioritize profit over artistry. Marley had to remain vigilant, and he learned to trust only a few people with critical decisions. Burning Spear has been vocal about how the industry could be ruthless, even to artists as talented as Marley. According to him, many obstacles Marley faced were hidden from the public, and the struggles behind the scenes were rarely discussed. The image of a carefree reggae superstar was carefully maintained, while the real artist had to constantly navigate betrayal, mismanagement, and attempts to exploit his success. Despite these challenges, Marley's response was remarkable. He refused to compromise the messages in his music and remained committed to authenticity. The clashes with producers, labels, and managers only strengthened his resolve to control his art, and to ensure that his music reflected both his personal experiences and the struggles of his community. These early industry battles were more than just frustrating. They shaped Marley's approach to fame and his understanding of the business that could either elevate or destroy an artist. His ability to survive, learn, and adapt during this period was crucial to the path that led to global recognition. Bob Marley's clashes with the music industry reveal that fame rarely comes without obstacles. He faced unfair contracts, manipulative producers, and internal disagreements. Yet he managed to maintain his vision and integrity. These experiences laid the groundwork for his future success and made him a savvy, resilient artist ready to tackle the world. Rising fame and controversy. After years of struggle and persistence, Bob Marley and the Wailers finally began to gain international attention. The release of Catch a Fire in 1973 marked a turning point for Marley and reggae music. Suddenly, the world was listening, but along with fame came scrutiny and unexpected challenges. Marley's rise was not a smooth ride, and controversy seemed to follow him wherever he went. The album itself was groundbreaking, blending reggae rhythms with rock influences and socially conscious lyrics. Record labels saw potential in marketing Marley to a global audience, but with that came pressure to appeal to mainstream tastes. Some producers encouraged changes to his music to make it more palatable. To international listeners, Marley, ever the purist, resisted compromises that would dilute his message. As Marley's popularity grew, so did tensions within the Wailers. While the group had started as a tight-knit trio, fame created friction over creative control, songwriting credits, and the direction of the band. Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer eventually left to pursue solo careers, leaving Marley to navigate both leadership and public expectations alone. This period was both liberating and lonely, highlighting the cost of success. Controversy was not limited to personal and professional dynamics. Marley also found himself at the center of political discussions in Jamaica. His music carried messages about resistance, equality, and social justice, which some political groups attempted to exploit. Marley's image became a tool for campaigns and rallies, whether he wanted it or not. Even as a symbol of peace, he could not escape the complicated reality of fame in a politically charged environment. Media coverage added another layer of pressure. The public adored Marley, but tabloids and journalists often focused on rumors and sensational stories. Instead of celebrating his artistry, some outlets highlighted conflicts, personal life details, and disputes within the music industry. Marley had to learn how to handle the spotlight, while staying true to his beliefs and avoiding distractions that could derail his work. Despite the controversies, Marley's performances continued to captivate audiences. His energy on stage, combined with the honesty of his lyrics, created an almost magnetic connection with fans. Across the globe, people were drawn not just to the sound of reggae, but to the messages woven into every song. Marley became a cultural icon, representing more than music. He symbolized hope, resilience, and a desire for social change. Burning Spear later remarked that Marley's growing fame exposed him to both admiration and manipulation. Many of the challenges Marley faced were hidden from public view, including pressure from managers, political figures, and even former bandmates. Fame amplified every decision, every misstep, and every success, leaving little room for error or privacy. Ultimately, this phase of Marley's career illustrates that success is rarely simple. Rising fame brings opportunity, but it also brings tension, controversy, and unexpected responsibility. Marley had to navigate creative disagreements, political manipulation, and intense media scrutiny while maintaining the integrity of his music. These experiences shaped not only the artist, but the man behind the legend. Bob Marley's rise to international fame was as complicated as it was inspiring. He captivated the world while navigating internal conflicts, external pressures, and political scrutiny. Every challenge reinforced his resilience and determination, preparing him for the global stage and ensuring that his music would resonate for generations. Burning Spear's perspective. Burning Spear, a reggae legend in his own right, has long been vocal about the music scene in Jamaica and the path Bob Marley traveled to international fame. According to Speer, understanding Marley's rise requires looking beyond the hits and the glamour and focusing on the challenges and compromises that rarely make headlines. Speer's perspective is valuable because he witnessed Marley's journey up close. He saw the struggles with management, record labels, and even fellow musicians firsthand. While Marley was celebrated publicly, Speer points out that the reality behind the scenes was far from straightforward. The music industry in Jamaica could be unforgiving, and young artists were often forced to make tough choices between integrity and opportunity. One key point Speer emphasizes is how Marley navigated external pressures. While many remember the reggae icon as a figure of peace and positivity, Marley had to negotiate with producers, managers, and promoters who were sometimes more interested in profit than the music itself. These interactions often required diplomacy, firmness, and a keen understanding of human behavior. Marley had to protect his creative vision without alienating the people who controlled access to recording studios, distribution channels, and international exposure. Burning Spear also highlights the internal dynamics within the Wailers. He recalls moments when tensions arose over songwriting credits, leadership roles, and recognition in the music industry. Fame put strain on friendships and forced Marley to assert himself in ways that were sometimes uncomfortable but necessary. Speer suggests that these early challenges built resilience and leadership skills that became essential as Marley's career expanded globally. Another aspect Speer discusses is the way Marley's music was interpreted and sometimes exploited by outsiders. Political figures, both local and international, recognized the power of his songs and image. Many tried to align Marley with campaigns or messages that were not always consistent with his personal beliefs. Speer points out that this added stress to an already demanding career, yet Marley handled it with a focus on the core messages in his music. Love, unity, resistance against oppression, and personal empowerment remained central, despite external attempts to distort them. Speer's reflections also shed light on the personal sacrifices Marley made in pursuit of his dreams. Long hours, constant travel, and the pressure to meet expectations took a toll on his health and personal life. While Marley maintained a positive and energetic public image, Speer emphasizes that the man behind the legend dealt with real fatigue, stress, and uncertainty. These insights remind fans that even icons have a human side. Ultimately, Burning Spear paints a picture of Marley as a deeply committed artist who faced extraordinary challenges in the pursuit of his goals. He was talented, yes, but he was also strategic, resilient, and incredibly aware of the forces working for and against him. Speer's perspective encourages fans to look past the mythologized version of Marley and recognize the hard work, smart decisions, and sheer persistence that drove his rise. Understanding Marley through Burning Spear's eyes helps illuminate both the triumphs and the struggles. It shows that fame is not just a product of talent, but of careful navigation of complex relationships, industry pressures, and personal discipline. Marley's story becomes richer, more human, and even more inspiring when we consider the challenges Speer describes. Bob Marley's rise was not simply a magical ascent to stardom, it was shaped by struggles, conflicts, and strategic decisions. Burning Spear's perspective gives us an insider view, showing the effort, intelligence, and courage behind the music that continues to inspire millions around the globe. Political influence and exploitation. Bob Marley's music has always been celebrated for its messages of unity, love, and resistance. Yet, as his fame grew, he discovered that his influence made him a target for political agendas in Jamaica and beyond. While many fans saw him as a symbol of peace, politicians recognized the power of his image and songs to sway public opinion and rally support. One of the most notable examples was the Smile Jamaica concert in December 1976. The country was politically divided, and violence between opposing factions was escalating. Marley was invited to perform in what was officially billed as a peace concert. However, the event carried significant political undertones. Some viewed Marley's participation as a tacit endorsement of one side, even though Marley's intentions were to promote harmony and calm tension. Behind the scenes, Marley faced threats and pressure that few fans could imagine. He received warnings about potential violence and attacks, yet he chose to perform despite the risks. This decision highlighted his courage, but also exposed how political forces could exploit his presence. The artist who sang about freedom and equality suddenly found himself navigating a complex web of expectations, safety concerns, and public scrutiny. Political exploitation of Marley's image did not end with a single concert. Throughout his career, various parties sought to associate him with campaigns, agendas, or movements that sometimes contradicted his personal beliefs. Marley's fame made him a public figure whose every action could be interpreted as political commentary. Even songs that were meant to inspire or uplift could be taken as partisan messages, adding pressure and responsibility beyond what most artists face. Burning Spear has emphasized that understanding this side of Marley's story is crucial. He points out that while Marley's lyrics called for change, his personal approach was rooted in balance and authenticity. He resisted being co-opted by political figures, carefully choosing when to speak and when to let his music do the talking. This required insight, patience, and sometimes strategic silence, showing a side of Marley few fans truly consider. Additionally, Marley's encounters with political forces revealed the limitations of celebrity influence. Some people expected him to solve societal problems through music alone, ignoring the structural issues behind violence, poverty, and corruption. His popularity made him a symbol of hope, but it also made him a lightning rod for criticism and manipulation. The pressures of fame now intersected with politics in ways that complicated both his personal and professional life. Despite these challenges, Marley remained committed to the principles that shaped his music. He used his platform to advocate for peace and justice without fully aligning with any particular party. His choices reflected both courage and a deep understanding of the risks involved. He refused to compromise his message for political gain, maintaining integrity while walking a difficult line. The political influence and exploitation Marley faced demonstrate that fame is rarely just about music. Performing on the global stage means dealing with forces beyond art, including public perception, government agendas, and social responsibility. Marley's ability to navigate these pressures without losing his essence contributed to his lasting legacy. Bob Marley's rise to fame was intertwined with politics in ways that challenged him personally and professionally. While politicians and others tried to exploit his image, he remained true to his message of unity and resistance. His careful balance of influence and integrity shows that behind the music was a man deeply aware of the stakes and committed to his principles. Personal sacrifices and hidden struggles. While Bob Marley's music projected joy, love, and hope, the reality of his personal life was far more complex. The rise to international fame brought relentless pressure, long hours, and sacrifices that few fans ever see. Beyond the music and stage presence, Marley faced challenges that tested both his physical and emotional resilience. One major area of struggle was his health. The relentless touring schedule, combined with the physical demands of performing, put strain on his body. Marley suffered from injuries and later a serious battle with cancer, which ultimately shortened his life. Yet even before this diagnosis, the demands of constant travel, recording sessions, and promotional obligations took a toll on his energy and overall well-being. Marley's personal relationships also reflected the cost of fame. While fans often saw him surrounded by friends, family, and fans, the reality was that his success created distance from those he loved. Maintaining personal connections while on the road for months at a time was a constant challenge. He had to balance his commitments to his music, his band, and his growing family, often making difficult choices about where to invest his time and attention. Burning Spear has pointed out that Marley's commitment to his craft often came at the expense of personal rest and leisure. Even in moments of downtime, Marley's mind was occupied with lyrics, arrangements, and the next performance. His dedication was admirable, but left little room for a normal life, highlighting the personal costs behind public success. Financial pressures and business responsibilities added another layer of hidden struggle. Marley's growing fame meant negotiating contracts, ensuring fair treatment for himself and his band, and dealing with the complexities of international markets. These challenges required vigilance and sometimes forced him to make decisions that were uncomfortable or stressful. Financial management, legal disputes, and industry exploitation were realities that few outside observers considered when admiring his music. Additionally, Marley faced the challenge of maintaining his spiritual and cultural beliefs in a world increasingly focused on commercial success. His Rastafarian faith informed much of his music and lifestyle, yet navigating fame often meant balancing these values against industry pressures. While he remained committed to his principles, the constant scrutiny and expectation to please a global audience created internal tension. Marley's personal sacrifices also included managing the public perception of his life. Many fans romanticized his image, focusing on love, peace, and rebellion. But this glossed over the difficulties he faced behind the scenes. The media rarely highlighted the exhaustion, the conflicts, or the moments of doubt that accompanied his rise, creating a contrast between public myth and private reality. Ultimately, these hidden struggles shaped Marley as both a person and an artist. The pressure to succeed, the challenges of maintaining relationships, and the demands of health and faith all influenced the music he created. Every song, performance, and lyric carried the weight of personal experience, lending authenticity to his work. Bob Marley's story is not just about fame and music, it is also about the sacrifices and struggles that made his art meaningful. The long hours, emotional strain, and health challenges reveal a man committed to his craft and his message. Even as the world celebrated him, Marley worked behind the scenes to balance life, music, and principles, proving that true greatness often comes with unseen costs. Legacy and controversy. Bob Marley's legacy is celebrated worldwide as the symbol of reggae, resistance, and unity. Yet, even as his influence endures, controversy and debate continue to follow his story. From personal choices to industry dealings, Marley's life was far from simple, and understanding the full picture requires looking beyond the music. One aspect of Marley's legacy is the myth versus the man. Many fans remember him as a figure of peace and effortless cool, but the reality includes conflicts, personal struggles, and the challenges of navigating fame. Burning Spear and other contemporaries often highlight that Marley's rise involved not just talent, but strategy, perseverance, and constant negotiation with people who could exploit or manipulate him. Controversy has followed Marley in several areas. Personal relationships, multiple marriages, and the dynamics within his large family have fueled discussions for decades. Some critics argue that the public image of Marley as a devoted father or spiritual icon was overly polished, while others point out that he did his best to balance personal life with an unprecedented career schedule. Managing fame, family, and fans simultaneously created tension that was rarely visible outside his inner circle. The music industry remains another area of debate. Marley's dealings with record labels, producers, and managers were not always smooth. While he ultimately achieved global success, he faced exploitation, unfair contracts, and internal disputes within the Wailers. These conflicts contributed to the larger narrative that fame, even for someone as talented as Marley, is rarely without compromise or challenge. Political influence and commercialization further complicate Marley's legacy. Some argue that Marley was co-opted by governments, promoters, or corporations attempting to capitalize on his popularity. Others maintain that he used his platform intentionally to promote peace and social justice regardless of external pressures. Marley's ability to maintain his message while operating in these politically charged and commercial environments reflects both his intelligence and his moral compass. Burning Spear emphasizes that controversy is a natural part of any high-profile career, especially one as transformative as Marley's. His insights suggest that the struggles behind the scenes are not failures, but part of the complexity of achieving lasting influence. Every negotiation, conflict, and challenge contributed to the resilience and depth of the man behind the music. Despite these controversies, Marley's influence on culture and music is undeniable. His songs continue to inspire new generations, transcending boundaries of race, nationality, and language. The themes of resistance, love, and unity resonate globally, reminding listeners that his music was both personal and universal. The controversies do not diminish his impact, but rather humanize him, showing that even legends face challenges. Moreover, Marley's legacy extends to the social and political dimensions of music. He opened doors for reggae on the world stage, and his approach to integrating social commentary into mainstream music created a blueprint for artists across genres. While the music remains the most visible part of his legacy, understanding the behind-the-scenes struggles offers a richer perspective. Bob Marley's story is a mix of triumph, challenge, and complexity. His legacy is not just in the songs, but in the resilience, decisions, and perseverance that defined his rise to fame. Controversies about personal life, politics, and industry dealings remind us that fame is rarely straightforward. Marley's journey shows that enduring influence often comes with struggle, compromise, and the courage to remain authentic, reminding us that even icons face real obstacles. What do you think? Is fame worth the price, or does Marley's story show a cost few truly see?